Hey everybody! If you follow me on Facebook, then you know that I spent most of yesterday out at doctor appointments and running errands. The errands were the fun part of my day. The doctor appointments weren't horrible, but you know, they weren't the most fun part of the day. It's all good. So, one of the errands I got to run since I was up in the North Bay area of where I live in California, near I was going to be in Millbrae. If you don't know where that is, you could Google it. Milbrae, California. It's not too far from San Francisco or Daly City. Why do I say that? Because I got to go to two of my favorite places on the planet for art supplies. Scrap, which stands for Scroungers Center for Reusable Art Parts. Hold on, I have a card. This is their business card. 801 Tolan Street. They're a non-profit. They do take donations, and I went up there with the idea of taking some donations. Knew I'd probably buy a couple small things, but tried to keep it under control because I really don't need too much. And they're a fabulous place. Think art salvage. It's just a wonderful place, I got to tell you. If you haven't been, you have to make some time, go with your arty girlfriends and go up there. Take some donations with you because it's really for a good cause, but, you know, it's a dirty, you know, kind of dark warehouse, but it's just really fabulous. The mixed media artist and scrounger and thrifter in you is going to just love it. Trust me. So anyway, so I went there yesterday and I picked up just a couple things. So I got these scraps of, they're called Marmoleum. I don't really know what that is. It must be a brand name, but they're like a really thick linoleum. And as you all know, I do carve some of my own stamps and things. So I was wondering if these would carve well. So I got two little pieces. We'll talk about this in a minute. And then every time I go up there, they always have sheet music. So I usually just pick out the fattest book of sheet music I can find and buy one of them. Because it's something as mixed media artists we use a lot of. I don't, you know, even care what the songs are. It doesn't matter because we're going to rip it up and use it in collage, right? So I got this. I got this bag of wine labels. Now I have some of my own that I've pulled off of wine bottles and this and that, but I thought that was just way too cool. So at some point I want to use them all in some collage work. And what else did I get? Oh, the coolest thing on the planet. Anybody know what this is? You recognize it? It's a Braille magazine. Obviously I'm sighted, so I don't know how to read Braille. But it's got the coolest texture on the planet. If you've never had the opportunity to just touch Braille paper, like, I don't even know what I would use it in because it is so bumpy and textury on both sides, but it's just the coolest thing. I had to have one of them. So all of this, I bought all of this. I think that was all I bought. Yeah, it was $5. So that was, I thought that was a good price. Plus, like I said, the donation that I made and the money for this purchase all go to a great cause, so it's good. Then I went to my second favorite place for art supplies, Daiso, the Japanese dollar store. It's actually the Japanese $1.50 store. I love that place. There's a really big one in Daly City, and while I have one here in San Jose, it's not in the best part of town, and my husband really frowns upon it when I try to go there. Plus, like I said, the one in Daly City is just huge and enormous, so I love to go there. So I went with the idea that I would find things for mark making. I did find a few really cool things. So a while back, somebody found a sort of honeycomb patterned silicone pot holder at Walmart. I admired it so much. My Walmart didn't have any, but they sent me one. It was so cool. I forget now which one of you it was that did it, but thank you. I went to Daiso and look at this one I found with diamonds. It's very cool. Then I found this lace placemat. Now I have one of these already in my stash of mark making things, to be in all honesty. I use it for when I'm to spray through as a mask. I bought a second one because I had the idea of cutting off bits of it and or elements of it and creating some more lace stamps like the ones I did in the video the other day. So I saw this first, after I saw this. Then I'm walking around And I saw this one, which is a lace sheet. It says lace sheet. I haven't even opened it, so I don't know. Let's take it out, shall we? Oh, look at this. It's just a long piece of vinyl lace. It's vinyl. And I thought it was so cool because I could cut out just a square and make a stamp. There's a lot of it. So don't be surprised if some of these extra things show up in Happy Mail at some point. If you want to be on my Happy Mail list, you should email me your address. Or if you're in Crazy Island Family, go to the Happy Mail list under the Files tab and put your name and address in. Otherwise, you know, I can't send you Happy Mail if I don't know where you are. So the other thing that I found were these are silicone pot holders. I haven't opened them yet either. Let's open some. And I thought they would be cool glued to some cardboard. Yeah. Look at that. Isn't that the coolest thing? So I got hearts. I got these. These are all silicone. And I got this one only has 2 in it. I don't know why, but then I found some felt things. I love Daiso because you always find all this stuff. So they have this felt trim, which again I thought could be glued to a strip of cardboard and make a really nice border stamp. That would be cool. Then I found these felt coasters. I thought, okay, they'd also be cool to make stamps out of. Then I found palette. Now palette knives are great to get there. They're $1.50. I found 2. Yeah, I never seem to have enough. I break them a lot. And I have still a few plastic ones, and I push too hard on them and they break in half. So the other thing I found was some of this stuff. This is called a joint mat. They're like floor tiles, you know, cushy floor tiles. And as you all know from the previous video where I showed some of my hand-carved stamps, I do carve a lot of stamps, and I was kind of wondering if this stuff is carvable. So I'm going to be trying that in a future video. If it's not carvable, I thought at the very least this is really thick. It's thicker than the thick craft foam I can buy here at the local craft store, and it was really cheap. So I thought, if worst case scenario, I can always use it as a backing for some of my craft foam stamps. But I'm going to try carving it first because I think it might be interestingly carvable. And then I also got something called steaming cloth. It's like thick cheesecloth, but I thought it might be interesting dyed and added to a page. That's it. So I had some fun. So I hope that gave you some ideas of some things that you can go look for to make marks. This pop, by the way, would make interesting marks too. You could glue a piece of it onto some cardboard, and I bet it would make an interesting stamp because it's really thick. I just thought of that as the camera was rolling. Oh yeah. It's like really thick bandage cloth. Yeah, it would be really cool. It would be cool to spray through too, to do like spraying through. I think I'm going to like it. The only problem with buying stuff at Daiso now that I have this allergy asthma thing going on is everything has a little bit of an odor, and it's really, I gotta let it air out a little bit because I'm having some trouble coughing and stuff this morning. Anyway, alright. I will be back in just a minute with the second half of this video because I'm going to show you how, I'm not going to do any stamp carving today, but I'm going to show you how I'm going to attach some of these things to some cardboard to make some new stamps. And we are also going to test them on my drop paper. So I will be right back. Okay, before we get started with cutting and gluing and fast forwarding, I'm going to let you guys know, this time I create these stamps, I'm going to use heavy gel medium Y instead of like adhesive or the Xyron machine. It's less expensive, number one, and I want these really to stick well. I'm not sure how the other one I did is going to hold up over time, and it was kind of a test. If it holds up well, I'll be doing maybe more of that in the future. I also have a lot of these to do, so that would use up a lot of Xyron. I'm going to use gel medium instead of a different kind of glue because I don't want too much of it to squish up in between the holes of some of this vinyl lace and clog up the holes, because that will defeat the purpose of creating a stamp out of them. That being said, I'm going to use my Golden Heavy Gel Medium, probably one of my new palette knives, and this piece of cardboard underneath me, and I'm going to create some stamps. I'm going to fast forward. I'll be back at the end for some mark making. Okay, we're going to let that dry. Hopefully it's all going to stick down really well, and then we will cut them apart and do some stamping with them. How cool was it that these two felt trims were already self-adhesive on the back? I didn't even know that when I bought it because, you know, the packaging's mostly in Japanese, so I have trouble reading English sometimes. So anyway, I will be back as soon as these are dry. Hey guys, so if you've seen my 3-part jelly printing and Happy Mail video that I posted recently, just over the last 3 days, you know, and if you've seen my other stamp making videos, you know I have a lot of hand carved stamps. Every now and then I carve 2 or 3 of them. I like making my own mark making tools. I like buying them too, don't get me wrong, and I have a, you know, despite the fact that I've done a significant amount of purging, I still have a lot of rubber stamps, store-bought purchased ones. In fact, I just got one the other day. This one. And I don't like to have wood-mounted stamps, so I need to microwave it for about 30 seconds and pull it off the block and put it on some, what do you call it, Easy Mount. This stamp is by Stampendous, and it's called Artist Elements, just so that you know. So so I'm going to add that to my collection. Anyway, so today I want to try carving some stamps, and I want to try some new material, which is why I'm creating this video. So normally I use something like this, which is Speedy Carve. This is by Speedball. I have a couple of different brands. I have Moo Carve. I have this one by Speedball, which is pretty similar to this one. It's a little thicker, and it's not pink. So, and these work great, and these are what most of my stamps are made out of that are carved. But when I was at Daiso yesterday, I got these foam floor tiles. So I thought today that we would try to create a new stamp out of this. And I have this idea for creating a flower one anyway. So let's cut a chunk of it off first. It cuts easy. Sort of. Honestly, it's not any harder to cut than that carving rubber that you buy, but it's a lot cheaper. Okay, we're going to cut all these little knobby things off. I don't need them on there. Because we're not using it for a floor tile, so they can just go away. Alright, and I know I've done other carving videos, and this is my carving jig. I actually got this on Amazon. It has this lip on it to sit on the edge of the table, or in this case, catch on the edge of my board that I usually work on. And I have it catched, like that's proper English, caught on the board so that you guys can see, and it can be more underneath the camera. If I had it on the table, it would be way down here, and I don't know that you would catch everything that I'm doing. The nice thing about this is it holds your block of rubber or whatever you're carving firmly so that you can carve without getting your fingers in the way. When you're doing this kind of carving, be very careful. The carving tools are extremely sharp, and you need to keep your fingers out of the way and not cut yourself. So the first thing I do is draw my design on with Sharpie. So let me grab my Sharpie. And let's see. I have this idea to do a stamp that mimics one of my doodle flower designs, which I thought would be nice. This piece of foam might be too big, but that's okay. I'm also not caring about if my drawing and or carving is absolutely perfect and symmetrical, because the beauty of hand carved stamps is that they look hand carved and not manufactured. I don't want it to be perfect, so. Oh, except for that's like way long. Let's make that shorter, shall we? Yeah, that's not exactly right. That's better. Okay. I'm going to sit down because that's not something I normally do. And my carving tools, with the exception of the small X-Acto knife, are from Daiso also. They sell a lot of carving tools there. They don't, I haven't really seen the rubber there, but they always have the carving tools, and they have wood, which was probably why they have the carving tools. So I just bought theirs. It's cheaper. I'm going to start with this one, which is like a medium. I don't know what that says on there, but it's like a medium round. I'll show you. Let's see. So I'm going to start with that one. And let's see if this stuff carves. I don't know if it will or not. Kind of. See, I don't know if it's carving as much as tearing. Let's see. I'm going to get out my regular X-Acto knife. I'm not going to fast forward through this because this is a total experiment. This is not the stuff I normally carve, so I have no idea how this is going to work. Or if it's going to work. It may be an epic fail. That's okay, because I said in my previous stamp making part of this video that worst case scenario, this stuff could be used as backing for stamps, and that's totally true. Let's see if I can get this out now. Nope. Maybe. I think this is harder than this is too much trouble, I think. I don't know, we'll see. I'm not known for being patient, so let's see. But you all knew that already. Okay. Comes out extra jagged. I don't know. I don't think I like the way it looks. You notice I'm keeping my fingers well out of the way. Whether I was using the X-Acto knife or the carving tools, that would be the same thing. So keep my fingers out of the way. I also don't put the knife down anywhere where I have the chance of doing this, right? So if you're going to carve with this stuff, it seems like the best way to do it is to trim it with the X-Acto knife around the edges, and then yank the piece out that you want out. Let's see. There's some little pliers. There we go. Now this right here is kind of jagged and kind of a mistake, so let's see if we can clean that up and fix it. Before we move on. Okay, let's keep going. Let's see what happens. So now I'm going to do the same thing to the center of the flower petals. I want to leave where the black Sharpie is intact and cut out around it and remove the foam from around it. This is less carving and more just pulling and yanking. Alright, I'm going to keep going. I guess if you could find a really thick piece of craft foam, you could probably do this with it too. I'm going to keep going, and I will be back when I'm done. I'm going to fast forward. Okay, I'm going to zoom out a little bit. The other stamps are not dry yet, but I did finish this one, and it was less carving and more cutting and pulling. But it, you know, and I was tempted to just stop at one point and just give up, but I kept going with it. It's interesting. You never know how they're going to stamp, though, until you test stamp them. So we're ready for that. And I like to test stamp them in black. It gives me a really good idea. I also mostly, when I do use my stamps, I mostly stamp them in black because I usually am stamping them on old book text or something and using them for collage bits. Not always, but usually. So let's get some black paint out here, and I usually use a foam roller. Just going to dry it off a little bit. And I have some drop paper here I've been collaging and painting on. It's going to cover a composition book at some point. I'm going to do another one of those Cosmic Smash books. So let's actually stamp on here. Get my roller really well and paint it up so I can get good coverage on the stamp. And then it's just like inking up any other stamp, really. Just make sure you get a lot on there. And you could use ink. I like to use black acrylic paint, or when I do use ink, I use StazOn. Let's see what happens. It's always a surprise. You never know. Okay, ready? Oh, hey, I like that. So when you do your test stamp, that's when you can tell if there's any little bits that you missed that need to be cut out. Like this one right here. That's kind of showing up on there. But that's okay. But I like it. Better than I thought I would. Ooh, let's do a couple more on there. This is collage with bits and pieces of things that I either had in my stash or copies of other work of mine. The ink from the photocopy on the girl's face didn't react well with the glue that I used, so I'm going to have to do some painting over her, but that's fine. I like this stamp. I like it more than I thought I would. Honestly, I wasn't sure when I bought it and when I started carving it if it was going to work at all. I'm pleasantly surprised. I'm sure these kind of foam, floor tile things can be found other places. This was from Daiso. You could probably use thick craft foam too. I really like that. I'm very pleasantly surprised. Very nice. All right, let's get the other ones dried and cut apart, and we will be back to test stamp them too. Okay, here are the stamps that we made out of the coasters and things I bought at Daiso. They're not completely dry, but they're mostly dry. I just can't wait anymore. So we're going to use black paint and or StazOn, and we're going to stamp them on this background paper, but also I have another one of those sheets of paper I've been working on to cover another composition book. So I am going to work on that, and I'm going to fast forward through the process. I'm going to ink them up or paint them up the same way I did the other stamp with my little roller and some black paint, which is over there off camera that way. And I will fast forward through it, and I'll see you back at the end. Okay, well, what do you think? Really interesting, fun, new mark making tools. I love it. You will notice with the ones that were made out of felt, at least to start with, you get less of a even impression. That would be because the felt absorbs some of the paint the first couple times you ink them up. After the first couple of times and you get some paint that's dried into the felt, you have a slicker surface and the paint's not going to absorb into the felt before you even can get it stamped onto the paper or whatever you're working on. With the things made out of plastic and silicone, you don't have that issue. You also noticed I didn't use any StazOn. I ended up using all acrylic paint. I just was very careful with the thinner pieces of the plastic lace about how much paint I put on than I was with the thicker ones. That would be so the holes and things don't get all clogged up. But it worked out real well. So there you have it. I hope that gave you some ideas. I have a bunch of new stamps now to add to my collection. I'm very happy about that. And I've got more of that floor foam that I can add to my stash of stuff that I can carve and play with. So that's always good. I hope it gave you some ideas. Go out and have a great week. Have a great day. And do something nice for yourself because you deserve it. And I'll see you later.